Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. Today we move on to see about preposition. So the last class we were discussing about the sequence of tenses and other kind of things and so on. So today we will discuss about preposition. So this is one of the important things which we have to know when we study grammar. So first we begin with the definition of preposition. So it is, as I written here, a preposition is a word placed before a noun or a pronoun to show the relationship between the person or thing denoted by it and something else. So this is the definition of it. So what does it mean? It is, a preposition is a word placed before a noun or pronoun to show the relationship between. So the important point which we have to know about preposition is the relationship between the person or thing. So the preposition shows the relationship between the person or thing. For example, we saw a horse on the road. We saw a horse on the road. So here the word on is the preposition which is used in the sentence. So it shows the relationship between the noun or pronoun. So here the noun is used and it shows the relationship between the person and the noun or whatever it is here. So this is the use of a preposition, and we will use this preposition in different ways, like phrasal verbs in the form of phrasal verbs or in the sentences. For example, I am fond of ice creams. So here the word of, the fond of, the word is used as preposition. And here the third example, the monkey jumped off the table. So here, which is the preposition? The word of is the preposition which is used in the sentence. And this is a general idea about preposition, and we have to know something more about it. For example, where to use, when to use, and so on. So we cannot use wherever we want. It has some rules and regulations or the ways in which we use these prepositions. So we begin with the first example. So I have set these examples. The first one, we saw a horse on the road. So in the example, the preposition joins a noun to another noun. So which are the nouns here? The horse and the road. It joins these two nouns. I think you got what I said. The second one, I am fond of ice creams. So here the preposition joins a noun to adjective. So here the word fond of is an adjective and it joins a noun. The third one, the monkey jumped off the table. The preposition joins a noun to verb. So here the verb is jumped off, jumped, and the word of joins the verb to a noun, that is table. So this is one or two things which we have to keep in mind with regard to prepositions. So this is general idea, and we will move on to it. The noun or pronoun which is used with a preposition is called its object. It may have more than one object. So here it has an object C. So it may have more than one object. For example, they ran across the hill and the plain. They ran across the hill and the plain. So here the word across and hill, these two are the preposition which is joins the across is the preposition, and the hill and the plain. So the word hill as well as plain, it joins these two objects. or object is. So that is another thing which we have to keep in mind. And we move on to it, studying about preposition. So the word preposition means that which is placed before, and it is usually placed before its object, but sometimes it is placed after its object. So we can see usually it is placed before the object. So the word rod is object, ice cream, table, all these are objects, and it is placed before the object. There are times where we place these of the preposition after the object. So I will say the example. For example, please give me the book that I asked for. Please give me the book that I asked for. So here the word for is used at the end of the sentence. Or else, what are you looking at? So it's a question, or we can say it's an interrogative sentence, and the word preposition is used at the end of the sentence. I'll give one more example like this. That is the pupil whom I was speaking of, or that is the pupil whom I was speaking of. So here the word speaking of, the word of is used at the end of the sentence. So that is why I said it can be placed after the object also in certain situations. So that is all about the word preposition, and that which means placed before and so on. So when the object is a relative pronoun, the example which I said in the beginning, that is, please give me the book that I asked for. So here that is used. So in this situation, the preposition is always placed at the end. So here the relative pronoun that is used. So I hope you got the idea. And in the preposition is usually placed at the end when its object is a interrogative pronoun, as in the sentence which I said, like what are you looking at? So it's an interrogative sentence, and what will happen? The preposition will be placed at the end. Or else a relative pronoun understood in a sentence. For example, that is the pupil I was speaking of, or that is the pupil whom I was speaking of. So here we know that a relative pronoun is used. Even though if you are not using also, we will understand that relative pronoun is used. For example, that is the pupil I was speaking of, or else that is the pupil whom I was speaking of. So here both are correct, and if you are not using the word who also, it is not a wrong sentence. But in those sentences we understand that there is a relative pronoun. So what will happen? So in those situations also we will use the preposition at the end of the sentence. Sometimes the object is placed first for the sake of emphasis, as Gandhiji is known all the world over, or else that he insists on. So why do we use? So we give we place the preposition at the end in order to get the emphasize, or for the sake of emphasize, in order to get the priority. For example, Gandhiji is known all the world over, or else we can say Gandhiji is known all over the world. That's also correct. But if we are using Gandhiji is known all the world over in the sense, it gets a kind of emphasis, or else that he insists on. So we are emphasizing on what he insists. So that is the thing which we have to keep in mind. And the best way to learn the correct use of preposition and adverbial particles is by ample reading. So we cannot simply by heart and study prepositions, but what we can do is that we have to read and understand the situations wherein we use prepositions. So that is the only way in which we can use. However, there are certain rules which are worth knowing. So all those things we will study from this class, and we won't be able to study about prepositions and about everything about preposition in this class. For that, what you have to do is that you have to read many books and understand the difference between the use of particular prepositions. So that is all about it. And we move on to the uses of preposition. For example, the preposition of place, preposition of time, and so on. So there are different prepositions wherein which we use the preposition of place. For example, at, in, on, for, since, and so on. So we will know what is its use and the other kind of things which we keep in mind about all this. So first we begin with the preposition of time. So today in this class we will learn about the preposition of time. So in preposition time we know about for and since, at, in and on, by, till and to, in and within, before and for. So the first thing, that is for and since. So when do we use for? For is used, or it is followed by a period of time. For example, for is used with all the tenses. It can be used with all the tenses. But since is followed by a point of time and is preceded by a verb in the present tense. For example, we have been living in this town for 8 years. So here the word 80 years is used in order to know the period of time. Or else, we lived in this town for 8 years. So here the period of time, that is 8 years, is mentioned. So it can be used in any sense. So in the beginning it's we have been is used, and the second one is we lived, and the third one, we have been living in this town since 2000 or 2015 or whatever it is. So here we mention a point of time wherein which we have been living in the town. So that is the difference between for and since. And there is another use, that is from. From is also used before a noun or a phrase denoting some point of time. But unlike since, it is used with the older sense. For example, we shall begin the new project from May, or we will come to school from tomorrow. So it can be used with any tense. And that is all about the for and since. And we move on to know about at, in and on. So at is used with an exact point of time. That is, the bell rang at 2 o'clock, or the bell rang at 1 o'clock. So here at is also used with the festivals. For example, at Christmas, at Easter, at puja holidays, or whatever it is. So that is the use of the at. So the main use of at is to know the exact point of time. For example, I said the bell rang at 2 o'clock, or he arrived at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, whatever it is. And the second one is in. That is, in is used with the periods of time. For example, friends arrived in the morning. So it's a period of time. So we cannot judge the exact time from when the morning it is. It can be, it might be at 5 o'clock in the morning, or might be the 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. So whatever it is. And I'll give one more example. The museum will be closed in July. So here, what is the so we don't mention an exact time. So it can be in the beginning of the month, or it can be at the end of the month. It can be at the middle of the month. So we cannot judge when it is. So we, when we use in, we are not using or specifying a point of time, but we speak about a period of time. In the second example, that is the museum will be closed in July. As I said, it can be in the beginning, or at the middle, or at the end of July. So whenever it is, it can be closed. And the third one in that category is on. So on is used with the days and with the dates which include the day. For example, we played cricket on Sunday. The battle was fought on 6th October. So here, in order to mention the specific date, we will use the word on. And in and on are most used before today, yesterday, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow. For example, like that. So it is not used. Okay. For example, I am going for shopping tomorrow. So we won't use I am going for shopping on tomorrow. Let's say wrong usage, because we will use only with the days or with the dates. So that is with regard to it. And the other thing which we have to keep in mind about it is, so we have to notice the difference between on time and in time. So on time means, or it speaks about the punctuality. It speaks about the punctuality, and in time means before the time appointed. For example, you have to come on time, in the sense you have to come on that particular time. So if 10 o'clock is mentioned, you have to come to come before or on 10 o'clock. Or else if you are using in, so it is used or before the time appointed. So in the sense, you have to come in time, in the sense the person has to come before 10 o'clock. So that is the thing about in. So now we move on to see about by. So when do we use by? So by is used as a preposition, and by has the meaning not later than. I'll explain what it is. For example, the field must be plowed by the end of this month. So not later than the sense, it has to be plowed by the end of the month. So by the end of the month it has to be plowed. So it cannot, so we cannot extend the date. I'll explain with one more example. Bring the book to the office by 10 o'clock. The sense, before 10 o'clock the person has to bring the book. That is the, and there is an easy way to understand it. So that is enough to know the difference between by and at. I will explain these two with the same example. Bring the book to the office by 10 o'clock, and another one, bring the book to the office at 10 o'clock. So what is the difference? So here, by 10 o'clock, in the sense, the book has to be brought to the office before 10 o'clock. And bring the book to the office at 10 o'clock, in the sense, the person has to bring the book to the office at correct 10 o'clock. So that is the difference between by and at. So that is all about by, and we want to know about the word till and to. So till is used of time and to is used of a place. For example, I rested till 5 o'clock. So it speaks about a time. Or else we walked to the end of the road. So here we speak about a place. So it can be called as a, so we can say that to is used as a preposition of place, and till is used as a preposition of time. In sense, in order to mention a time, we use till. So that is all about it. Nothing more to say about till and to. And we want to know about in and within. So in implies at the end of some future period. So within denotes before the end of something. For example, Mona will return in a month. In the sense, towards the end of the month, the person will return. Or else Mona will return within a month, in the sense, before that particular month, the person will arrive. So the only difference between in and after is in is used with the future tense, and after is used with the past tense. So it denotes the end of something. So end of something means it is used as a it is used in the sense of a past tense. But the word in can be used in the use of a future or in the sense of future. So that is all about in and within. So the last one which we have known about the preposition of time is before and for. So with this session we will end, and the last one that is before and for. So before is used to denote the point of future time. For example, Tapas will be there for an hour, or else Himanshu will be there for an hour. In the sense, it shows a period of time. So here, for is used in order to show a period of time. So for an hour, in the sense, that person will be there for that entire hour. And what is the use of before? Before, or else Himanshu will be there before 6 o'clock. In the sense, it shows a point of time in the future. It shows a point of time in the future. So that is the difference between for and before. So with this session today we will end, and we will speak about the preposition of place and other kind of things in the next class. So that's all about it. And we'll know some kind of things which we have studied today, or else a short summary of it. So in the beginning we have studied the definition of preposition. So that is a preposition, a word placed before a noun or pronoun to show the relationship between the person or thing denoted by it and something else. And we saw about the example which we discussed and the things which are to keep in mind with regard to preposition. And we came to know about the word preposition means that which is placed before. It means placed before. The word which is placed before is known as the preposition. And there are times wherein which we use the preposition at the end of the sentence. So the things with keep in mind and all those things we have seen already. And we came over to the preposition of time, and then we have seen number of prepositions and its usages. So this is all about today's session, and we will come up with the following session that is about the preposition of place in the next class. Thank you.